That guy asked me, "Are you forgiven?" I said, "This is it. I got to tell her." So we went out in the car. There was no rooms because it was a busy night at the church that night. And we went out into the car to talk. And I said, "Lise, that analogy I used before about the car on fire going off a cliff, it's about to happen. And I need to tell you something. And I can't see any way out of this. And it's going to explain why I've been so distant and so dark." And something along those lines. And before I could even say it,
I just turned to him. I said, "You've had an affair."
And I couldn't even look at her. I said, I started to cry a little bit, and I said, "Yeah, and I know you'll never forgive me, and I just need to tell you, and I don't know what's going to happen."
And something happened in that moment where, my whole body was tingling and I was numb and I was just processing really quickly and realizing like everything that God has been doing in my heart up until this weekend, up until this very moment, has been for this moment. The way everything that God has been orchestrating is so that I can forgive my husband for this. And I just said, I think I can forgive you. I do forgive you. And I meant it with all my heart. I meant
could
it
tell.
with my whole being. And it was this instantaneous forgiveness that had to have been a miracle, because it could never have come from me in my own flesh with all my sin and my judgment.
And I've never witnessed that. In the 11 years we've been married, I've only witnessed maybe little glimpses here and there, but it's always been the opposite. It's always been I've done something wrong, or I point out that she's done something wrong, and that instant wall goes up, and there's this process. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 5 days of letting her process with the Lord, and then eventually she and I can reconcile. But it was so instantaneous. I did the worst thing in our marriage ever, and the worst thing possible, and her reaction was instant grace and forgiveness, and I knew that had to come from God.